this is a grade 1 turf toe injury, at least the way it's been reported to us, right? If you look at the history of the grade 1 turf toe injury, most quarterbacks have played with the grade 1 turf toe injury, at least the ones who've had it. And it's a small list of them. Patrick Mahomes, I think, was the last who played through it in 2021.
Yep.
And this is a case of, well, they told Jay Glazer, if this was a playoff game, he'd play. Well, him banged up with this toe injury, they don't believe is better than Mac Jones banged up with his knee injuries. And that, to me, is a little bit of an indictment, because usually when you pay a guy $50 million to be your starter, you're like, well, even with the toe injury, well, this is how it was reported.
So this is interesting. I didn't see this. Sorry. Benali, for the audio listeners, Benali says it's a grade 2. Juice said he had a grade 1 and said Purdy's was worse on KMBR.
That doesn't mean it's grade 2, though. It just means it's worse than Juice's grade 1.
I suppose.
Yeah.
I'd like to go back and hear. Thanks, Kyle Juszczyk, for spilling.
Right. But either way, to me, the second point of, hey, like, they don't believe him banged up, because we saw how that looked, right? He was great in the first half versus Seattle. When he got injured, that play went downhill. He missed a touchdown throw that should have been a walk-in touchdown to Ricky Pearsall. He threw 2 bad interceptions. I don't care about the game-winning drive. Nick Bosa won them that game.
Yeah.
He threw 2 terrible interceptions in that game. Versus Jacksonville, he did not play well. And so we saw a difference where no matter what, that injury made him a less of a player. And that's where my 2 theories are. And I think the truth is somewhere in between the both. I think Benali is right. Like, ultimately, this is probably much more serious than they're reporting. And that's probably why I think he's under pain. And that's why they keep doing this week-to-week thing, and he's been unable to return. Because I don't think it's like, oh, I don't want to play. I think he wants to play. It's I can't play. And then I think the reason he hasn't gone on IR, and the reason we do this whole, is he going to play? He can play as our backup and all of this, is I think Shanahan thinks he should play. Just like with Jimmy Garoppolo.
Well, all I know is Joe Burrow had the surgery and is now back practicing again. Brock Purdy may play this week, may not play this week, hasn't had the surgery. And as Matthew Bolts, I think, correctly questions, YouTube channel member, do we trust the training staff to properly diagnose a grade 1 versus a grade 2? I don't know, but it sure seems like somebody didn't have something straight, just like with Pearsall too, Vish. Oh, it's a minor PCL injury, and he hasn't practiced in over a month.
Yeah, I think the way the Niners have handled this make us argue semantics we really shouldn't be arguing about, right? Because, one, we don't really know the difference between grade 1 and grade 2. And 2, NFL teams historically do not tell us what the medical history or what their player is dealing with. Like, oftentimes players deal with a lot of injuries that you would never know of, that you're like, holy shit, if I knew about that, that's like so serious. How did he play through that? That sort of thing. And so to me, the fact that they've handled this in a way where it was like, Jay Glazer's like, if this was a playoff game, he'd come back, all of this. They hyped up his return to Jacksonville. Then the moment he played terrible, they said, oh, he re-aggravated it. But they didn't say he re-aggravated it to now he's going to be out long-term. They said he re-aggravated it, so now he's out this week, and we're going to take it week to week from here, and it's 4 weeks or 5 weeks after that.
And he finished the Jacksonville game. Like, he finished the game. They didn't take him out, right?
And so that's where it's like the way they've handled it has now made us go, is it grade 1, Rob? Is it grade 2? Should he be coming back? Should he be this? All of these sorts of things. But the reality is, the truth is somewhere in between one of 2 things. One, he physically feels pain, and it's more pain than he's willing to play with, right? That's number one, and I think that's a pretty easy observation to make looking at the situation. 2, the reason they haven't moved him to IR, the reason we've been doing this whole thing week to week, every single week, is they think he should play.
Seems like that's the simplest explanation, and a lot of times the simplest explanation is the correct explanation. I had another point on Brock Purdy that I wanted to make. Oh, yes, now I remember what it is. They have put him in a no-win situation. If Brock comes in and plays well, Mac Jones was doing that anyway. If Brock Purdy comes in and doesn't play as well as Mac Jones, people are going to say, well, Mac would have won that game. Even if Brock plays well and they lose, especially if like Brock plays really well, but they need a game-winning touchdown drive at the end and he doesn't get it, people are going to be saying, oh, Mac Jones would have done that. He's done great in a 2-minute drive.
It doesn't matter what people say. You know why? They paid him. He's their franchise quarterback. Mac Jones doesn't matter. That's the reality of it. Mac Jones is paid $3 million. Mac Jones is auditioning for someone else because the 49ers are that invested in Brock Purdy the next 2 years at least.
Well,
and so if that's the case, you should be worried about how this thing moves forward with Brock Purdy. You should be worried about getting him on the field. And if the concern is his health, then what the hell is this whole thing with, he could have been the backup this week, but we didn't want to make him the backup, that sort of thing. I remember the last time they did that. Do you remember? It was when Alex Smith returned from a concussion and was the backup for Colin Kaepernick versus the Bears in the Colin Kaepernick versus Jason Campbell game. That was the last time they did something like that. Sorry, he didn't return in that game. The week after versus the Saints in New Orleans, he was the backup.
Well, and what did Harbaugh say?
As the backup QB.
Harbaugh said we're sticking with the hot hand at the time. That was literally the phrase.
Right, but that wasn't this. They had given Alex Smith a paltry extension after flirting with Peyton Manning. They were never that invested in Alex Smith. They're that invested in this guy. That's why this whole situation is so weird.
But I agree with you, Vish. But look, Dan Orlovsky said it before the game. There's a quarterback controversy brewing in San Francisco. For Richard Sherman, hey, they should stick with Mac Jones. You know, the fans, I mean, there's plenty of fans out there saying, number one, they shouldn't have paid Brock, and number two, you got to stick with Mac. Like, you could say it doesn't matter.
But who did Dan Orlovsky play with in the NFL?
Dude, I'm not
debating. No. Like, this is an example, right? Like, what do you think all the things Matthew Stafford played through? That was the quarterback Dan Orlovsky backed up for so many years, right? Like, he's seen a starting quarterback play through many things and still play. I think part of the controversy is I think Shanahan expects him to play through this, if that makes sense. And why is it controversial? Why is everybody raising the story about Mac Jones in my mind? It's to put pressure on him to play. And I think he's standing defiant and saying, I don't feel good.
But Kyle's not the one causing all. He's not telling Dan Orlovsky to say that there's a quarterback controversy brewing to put pressure on Brock Purdy.
No, I don't think he's doing it directly, but I think the thought comes from him, knowing him and how he reacts. Because the Garoppolo thing, he was pissed that Garoppolo didn't play through that sprained ankle, no matter what. Like, that was a part of it, and that ruined their relationship as much as many things. But that was another thing that ruined their relationship. I think he has this expectation that quarterbacks play through certain things. It's what I've been bringing up, right, in these last few shows, where there was a time where quarterbacks just played through this sort of stuff.
Sleeper is the #1 fantasy sports app. It pays to know sports. Pick more or less on top players. Your first pick is on us, so start winning now. Play in Texas, Georgia, Minnesota, and 27 more states. Pick anytime across all sports, pregame or live. Over 10 million players are already on Sleeper. Make your picks count. Score up to 1,000 times your cash. Join today. Get up to $100 credit using code GSPE. Call your shot on Sleeper. Download now.
It's frustrating, man. Tony says, I'd like to see what Mac looks like with Pearsall and Kittle. And a lot of people have said that too. If Mac Jones is putting up 300 yards with Kendrick Bourne and Juwan Jennings, what would it look like if Mac Jones had all the weapons that we've seen Brock Purdy have? Like, I'm telling you, it's not a good spot to be in if you're Brock Purdy. You can only get dinged. Even if you play well and win, people are going to say Mac was doing the same thing. There is no scenario where Brock Purdy's going to come in and play and people are going to be like, see, they never should have stuck with Mac. Great job, Brock Purdy. That scenario.
But that doesn't matter, right? Because you're not worried about winning that because you're invested in Brock Purdy. The weird thing to me is people keep jumping back to like, oh, well, they said they messed up with him versus Jackson. They didn't admit it. They said it publicly to protect him, right? To not play him the next few weeks, but they've been doing the week-to-week thing with him since the Jacksonville game. We've had 3 straight weeks where we've thought he might suit up as the backup, Rob. 3 straight weeks of that. If this was more severe since the Jacksonville game, what would be the automatic reaction? Put him on IR and say, we're going to look at this in 4 weeks, right?
True.
They didn't do that. They've been evaluating him week to week since the Jacksonville game. They've been teasing his return for 3 weeks. Have they handled it that way, Rob?
They have not handled it well at all. No question about it. From what they have done with the roster to what they have said about it and how they have talked about it. At least they haven't actually made him active as the backup, because that's the worst freaking look of all time. They've been smart enough not to do that. But that's the only good thing I'll say for how they've handled this whole thing. We got to get back to the second half. Because
it's the weirdest thing of all time. And it sucks because they've put him in such a weird public spot after paying him. Like
Mhm.
I feel like they could have protected his perception in all of this way better. Because to your point, while it doesn't matter what anyone says, while it doesn't matter what anyone thinks, because frankly, Mac Jones is slightly irrelevant when you pay a guy $56 million just this offseason. That's just what happens. They put him in this like situation where they've created bad press for him and he's injured.
Yep. It's not going to be fun to be Brock Purdy the rest of this season. I'll say that. All right. Well, and I do agree with this last comment from Benali, who says Brock's played through enough for the team to earn the benefit of the doubt that his injury is legit. That should be a factor, right? You've seen Brock play with broken ribs. You've seen Brock play with a variety of injuries.
Yeah,
And
no, totally. Sorry, go ahead. I didn't mean to cut you off. Yeah.
that should matter to Kyle. Like it should matter to everybody.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And when I bring up the injury thing, it's not to say like this isn't a real injury or this isn't fake or whatever. Like this is a real injury, but like people play through real injuries in the NFL. Like that's part of the job. And like that's where this injury thing is funny to me because like we take the Jacksonville game. Like at the end of the day, he played the Jacksonville game. You got to look at the product that was on the field. You can't go back and say, well, he was injured in this game because we're not doing that either with Mac Jones, who's been banged up this whole year while playing. We're not going back and saying, well, look, Mac Jones has been injured. Imagine Mac Jones healthy. No, he's playing. It's his opportunity to play. You play injured. You play how you are that year. Kittle's playing so banged up.
And Kittle had his best game of the year last week.